Hi guys, welcome to the World to Rights podcast, episode 15. That's
The big
scary.
1-5.
That's a bit scary actually. That's just hit me.
Yeah.
15, that's quite a lot of episodes.
We did start in January, I think, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
It's been wild, but yeah, also just before I get into it, I'd like to thank our new subscribers on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
For taking us over the 50 subscriber mark. One of the genuinely, I loved it.
It was so frustrating. Like, we were at, wasn't it 48 for like
We
weeks?
were at 49 at one point, and then I don't know if I told you about this because I didn't. I was like, it made me feel sad when I saw it. It dropped by a couple.
I think you did mention, yeah.
And I was like, we've gone from 40, 47, and I was like, I don't know how to mention this because this is not what I wanted to happen.
We've put people off.
Yeah, I was like, this is the opposite thing, but we've made it over the 50 threshold, which makes me very happy. So thank you to everyone for sticking with us. Thank you for hanging around, even though we are possibly one of the least consistent podcasts. But I'm glad that you're sticking with us and that you still want to listen. So thumbs up to you. We love you.
Thank you. We love you.
Obviously because it's one of our like multiple of 5 episodes. I never know what to call it.
Yeah, one of our fifths.
One of our fifths. It's one of our fifths. Welcome.
Okay.
We're on our 15th, and so it's going to be one of our more kind of serious, down to earth, like look at something episodes. And today we're looking at racism and sexism in the music industry. It's something that we've been wanting to do for a while, actually. Like probably
it was one of our first ideas, I think, for like. I guess that's the thing. We had lots of ideas for what we should do for the major topic episodes. Sometimes we're like not sure about what to do for the lighter hearted stuff, but we've always got ideas for what to do for the major topic ones. Yeah. But it's just, if we did a major topic every week, we wouldn't be able to research it properly and give you like confident responses and stuff like that. So I think it is good that we're doing that every now and again instead of all the time. I think
when we're just chatting shit, I'm happy to just sit there and chat shit. I'm happy to do it and not worry too much because I'm not trying to be. I'm just I'm trying to be funny more than anything. But when we do an episode like this, I am motivated by trying to. I think we want to do something good with it. I think there has to. We want there to be a point to what we're doing. I want there to be something good that comes out of it. I think the last 2 that we've done, we did mental health for the first one, and what it's like to be a woman in 2021 for the second one. And both of those have gone down really well. I've had some really lovely things back to people who have listened. Thank you if you have listened.
Yes.
I think it's been really useful for us to learn from each other, and I think it's been really good. So yeah. We don't like to do them. Doing them every 5 gives us a chance to properly understand what we're going to talk about and hopefully do it justice. Because if you're not doing it justice, then it's disappointing.
Yeah, and it can be quite emotionally like draining. Not that that's a bad thing, but it can be quite hard. Like I know with the mental health one, even though we're quite open with each other and open with our close friends, it is another thing. Even though we're not talking to the thousands, but it's still the idea that it is there for anyone to see, employers, anything.
It's making ourselves vulnerable, isn't it?
And it is something that needs to happen. And we were we're really happy because we had quite a few people come back to us and share their experiences with us, and I found that really sweet.
It was such a privilege. And it was great. So. Yeah, I think we've had a really good response. And so with this one, we had the idea a while back. And it kind of... So Kat did a piece of work about racism and sexism in the music industry. Really interesting piece of work, which we'll talk about during this episode. And it really was... for me, because I remember you talking to me as you were writing it and asking me questions and things. It was really... It opened your eyes a bit to understanding that. I mean, we're discussing it because we feel there's a problem.
Of course. Like, I think when you see the numbers as well, you can't deny that there's a problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're discussing it because we feel like there is a problem and there, you know, it's there. So that's, you know, it's just to get that out of the way at the beginning. You know, we're not going to say everything's fine. We don't feel everything is fine. Kat did great research, brought together loads of data on it, and talks a bit about it. So it's been really eye-opening, and there's been other developments recently and also just in the last few years that really shine a light on the industry. And it's an industry that Kat is going to go into the music industry.
Yeah.
And I love music. It's not a surprise to her, and I love music. I mean, look, I've got guitars on the wall. I've got a cello out of sight. I love making music, listening to music, all of that. And so it matters to me that industry is somewhere which is a good place, is a positive place, is a place where these kind of barriers don't really exist. And so the fact that it does means that I think there should be something done to
we need to be
that.
the people, to work on that and improve it. And I think that's the role of our generation is when we die, we're not going to leave the world as an equal place.
Oh my God, no.
I think we've sort of accepted that, but our role can be key to making sure that our kids or our kids' kids have either a more equal world or an equal world. Yeah. The ultimate goal.
I think generally, like, and it goes wider briefly, but the process of gaining equality through history is a long process, like generations and generations of slow changes. It's just the battle we face, and so the point we're at now is possibly one of the best points we've been at so far. But the key word is so far. I don't think you can stop because it's better, because there are still things that aren't right. So I see what we're doing is just part of that, part of the tiny torch carrying journey of trying to make an ounce of difference and then passing that torch on so someone else can keep going and keep going and keep going.
Exactly. So,
should we start with your essay?
Yeah, good. Like, I mean, I obviously you've read the whole thing now, because I think before I'd given you the paragraph specifically on racism, just to make sure that I wasn't being ignorant. And that was the thing. Submitting this essay for me, I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't being ignorant. And obviously, it's my peers are all white people. It's a bit hard to gain a bit more perspective. So I was like, yep, Chris, I need you right now.
Honestly, I think we had some great conversations.
Because of it, yeah, definitely. One of the things with this essay is I didn't really think about racism as different types of racism, racism towards Asian people as a separate thing. For me, racism was just a blanket term. And that was one of the things that educated me about different types of racism. Sorry, I'm being am I probably being a bit vague if people obviously haven't read the essay?
No, but I think it's a point that's valid for everything generally, is that I think when you just say the word racism in and of itself, it's very broad. It encompasses a lot of things, and I think that there are people out there who don't know how to deal with that, who get a bit put off by it, and they're like, oh, it's just too big, isn't it? It's too big to handle. But the overarching issue is it contains a lot of smaller things. Like you say, the issue of the racism directed towards Asians. And I mean, outside of the music world, that's a really big issue at the moment, especially since COVID. There's been a massive increase in hate crimes towards Asian people in the UK and across the world.
Yes, for sure. Shall I say with why I wrote the essay?
Yeah, it'd be really good.
So I was doing a film music module. So I'm doing my master's in music at the moment, and I did this back in November. I think I was writing it, and obviously with the Black Lives Matter protests and everything was going on, and I just sort of was like, I don't want to write about film music. I want to write about racism and sexism. Like I want to actually achieve something with this project. I don't want it to just be something that's forgotten about. I want to actually take the opportunity whilst I'm in education. I'm in that like great spot where I can educate myself about problems whilst actually getting like work submitted as well. So it just really appealed to me. And so I decided to look at film music awards and what composers were winning these awards in the last 5 years. And like unsurprisingly, although I was actually shocked with some of the numbers, but it completely dominated by white middle-aged men. Like not even close. I'll have to find the statistic of what number it was. I think it was like 80% or something awful.
I have something written down here from it. So you said that and the data backed this up. It wasn't just Kat saying it. This was reflected in the data.
Yeah.
So 3 out of the 50 composers for the 6 film awards you looked at between 2014 and 2019 were women.
Yeah.
And one of those women was Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
So she was like the kind of outlier, I suppose, in there, and that she clearly had previous fame brought with her, and she had
more like the
not to put Lady Gaga down, but you know she obviously has. I think what's the word? Pulling power kind of thing. I think is what you kind of mentioned. The fact that having her name on the film would bring in people who like Lady Gaga because it's Lady Gaga. It's it's something I want to watch. And the same thing when it went over to people of color.
With
only 10% of them were people of colors, and one of the black composers nominated was Pharrell Williams. Again, it's the same kind of thing of it's like, yes, he is good at what he does. I'm not taking away from that.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
But again, it's the pulling power that could have like it changes the conversation somewhat, and the fact that there were no women of color. You pointed out as well, which was the most shocking thing of all. I was like, hang on.
Honestly.
So there were 50 people. These were from 6 different awards. So Kat looks at the Academy Awards, the Golden Globes, the BAFTAs, the Saturn Awards, the LA Film Critics Association, and the Critics' Choice Award. So 6 different awards from 2014 to 2019. No women of color whatsoever. And I refuse to believe that there are no women of color composers out there.
It's awful. Like 50 composers, and you're telling me, out of these 50, there is not one female of color who is celebrated in those awards. It's just, and you think a lot of these people actually win multiple awards. So, and the other thing that grates me is like, I looked at some of women of color. I looked at like the awards they had won, and they were all women of color awards. Like they were all specific, like for that specific thing to promote and celebrate, instead of being these well-known awards, which just really didn't sit right with me. It was like, yes, you've done an amazing thing by winning this award, but just winning an award for being a female it's not the same as winning an award for being a brilliant composer, because it's almost taking away something from it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I don't like.
No, I fully get it. And it's something that I think about a lot. Because there will be people out there who are going, oh, so we should just be giving awards to women of colour because they're women of colour. No, that's not what we're saying at all. It's the fact that these are the nominations. These are being at the start line, not even at the end point. This is the start point, okay? They're not even making it to that point. And when you start understanding the reasons why that is, it opens up a whole new kind of issue, especially... So, I think I was kind of aware of it before, but didn't really put two and two together, of the fact that when you look at a film, it's often the same kinds of names that you see popping up time and time and time again.
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer is a really good example of a name which you see on virtually like every film. It's like, oh yes, Hans Zimmer's back again. All right, great, okay. And good though he may be, we know that it's going to be good. We're expecting it's going to be good if it has Hans Zimmer on it. And I think that from a film director's perspective, it's a safe bet. I think that's what you mentioned in your essay as well, is the kind of thing.
Of course, it is
they know it
bet.
Will succeed. So, why?
And there's so much money behind Hans Zimmer. It's not just one person. It's a company of people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, it's a bit different with John Williams, but with Hans Zimmer, it is like a company of people who are working to. You are guaranteed success by sticking that name on a film. It's just
it's like a badge of quality, I guess, almost. But the risk that you then have is that you don't allow new people to show their skill, because
of course,
how can you compete with that? How can let's say that I was trying to break into that. How can Chris Payne compete with Hans Zimmer? There's no way.
I think I put on the statistics. It was like John Williams had won 20 awards before winning this, like the awards in the last 5 years. He'd already won 20 awards.
Yeah.
So like, yes, we've established John Williams. He's probably got them in his bathroom by now. All these awards, like
John Williams is probably using them as doorstops and paperweights.
He knows he's good, and like it's great to celebrate good music. And I love John Williams.
Of course, his stuff is iconic. We know it. We enjoy it. Of course.
But I'm sure he himself is probably like, I don't need another award. Give it to somebody else who could do with the attention, who could do with the support. I sent you some links earlier, actually.
You did.
Because I did want to, even though this is going to be a sort of rant, talk about the injustice and the inequalities, we do want it to be a positive,
of course
thing. So I sent Chris a link to the PRS Foundation, which has money designated to give to people who are non-binary, transgender or female, who are trying to make it in the music industry. There's different categories for classical music or pop music, hip hop, etc. So if you are one of those people and trying to make it, is obviously a good idea to have a look at what resources are available to help you. And there is another company called Girl Gang, yeah. And they've also got a list of not partnerships, support, what do you call it?
They've got ally organisations.
That's it. Ally organisations as well, listed down on their site. But they are more of a celebrating female, non-binary, transgender people's music. So you can submit your music to their playlist and they'll promote you, instead of it being a financial sum. They're just looking to support you in any way. Yeah.
This is not a small thing, and I think it shows that it's generally understood that we need to do more. Me and Kat are not saying this from a kind of position of why is no one talking about this. It's understood that there is this problem of sexism and racism in the music industry. It's well understood. And what isn't quite understood so much is what's going to happen to change that. So what I really like about the PRS Foundation and Girl Gang Music is the fact that they it's actually a deliberate step, a deliberate action to try and change things, which is really good, really positive.
Yeah, I think along with what you're saying, is a lot of people understand there's an issue, but they don't know how, like, what to do about it, how they can improve the situation. And I think it's particularly hard for people who are in the minority, like, to, like, what to do, because you feel bad and you want to be able to improve the situation. You just don't know how. And there is no clear route of how we're going to get through this. And I think one of the big things that I've learned is that there's a lack of influencers, in the sense that how many female music producers can you name? Like, how many? And even as someone
can't name one.
And sound engineers as well. Like, I think I wrote down in my notes that I think it's Beth O'Leary, or is it Beth O'Leary? Said she was working with Kylie Minogue's like live production team, and she's a sound engineer, and she was a roadie for that team. And she said that they were one of the more inclusive teams, and still there was only 3 women out of 41 people on the team. And it's just like, okay, well, how do we get women involved then? Like, how do we improve this so that we do have a more equal platform?
Yeah.
It's overwhelming, I think. And I think it's talking about it. That's going to be the real killer, isn't it?
I think once you understand it, you can't ignore it.
No.
Once you talk about it and understand it, how can you in any good conscience just let that continue? So, Leanne Pinnock from Little Mix, I don't know if you saw.
Oh, yeah.
She did a documentary this week. I think it was called Race, Pop and Power, I want to say.
Oh, I saw a clip of her saying what she was called in a at school and horrible stuff.
Yeah, and it's it's actually the second member of I mean, whatever you think of Little Mix, I feel like that's a group that is, and they're using their platform for really good things. So Jessie Nelson talked about mental health before, and kind of body image issues, which is really useful. And this time around, Leanne has come in to talk about race, which is really useful. And there's a number of really interesting things in there. And I promise it links into what you're saying. But there was something about, say, she spoke to Alexandra Burke.
Oh yeah.
I think we all know her, who apparently was told early on that she was too dark to be in the industry.
God.
And that she should try and bleach her skin to make it lighter so that she could succeed. And apparently Leanne was told by Frank Gatson, who is now Beyonce's creative director, that as the black girl, Leanne would have to work 10 times harder than the other members because of the colour of her skin. And there's lots of talk about this issue of colorism, and having lighter skin. So those individuals of colour who have lighter skin are seen as... It's almost like they are more accepted by individuals who might be prejudiced towards people who are darker skinned. It's like, you're lighter skinned. And in India as well, it's a really, like, being lighter skinned. I know in Indian culture, or in parts of Indian culture, it's seen as preferable to have lighter skin. And in parts of Africa as well, actually. And so there's a lot of, like, skin lightening creams, which have the potential to be really damaging. But it's because being lighter skinned is seen as being more beautiful. And so, that's clearly not right. That's clearly not okay. And that shouldn't be... The fact that people believe that in order to be successful, they should have lighter skin is a really horrible, toxic thing to have developed. So it's really interesting she discussed that. But one of the things that I kind of wrote down a few times was that, so she mentions that her father, when she spoke to her father about making a documentary, his first thought was, toughen up, get yourself together, don't moan about it. And I think it's often seen as there's a feeling of not rocking the boat, Yeah. Like, almost this idea that she is successful. Leanne is part of Little Mix, and Little Mix are, again, whatever you think, a very successful group doing incredibly well. And it's like, don't mess with it, you know, like you're succeeding, so just ride that wave. Just be happy that you've got somewhere.
You don't want to be the first person to put your hand up, sort of thing.
And it's like, don't do it. Don't make things wrong. Just quietly push on through. And I like that clearly didn't stop her from continuing to make this thing and shine a light on it. Because, you know, you can't... I think if you just go, oh, you know, it's okay, we're a little bit better than we were, and you think that's a stopping place, then nothing ever gets solved. The problem still exists. I was telling you about lines that my sister said, and he said, it's a bit like saying, this wall has the least shit on it, but it's still got shit on it. You know? Like...
Yeah.
Like, if you got a shit on a wall, a little bit of shit on the wall is still not good enough. It shouldn't be there. And likewise, you know, I don't think that we should be patting ourselves on the back that black women and black men and people of colour are in the music industry. That's not enough. It's not enough that they just happen to be there. It's that there are barriers which prevent it being easy for them to be there in the same way, and barriers that prevent it being as straightforward for other people to follow them. There's so many different barriers there. So it was really interesting that one of the things that came out of it for me was, just the notion of we're not that bad. We're not that racist.
Gosh.
And it was another thing. Sorry, it's almost rambling, but I promise you that within what I'm saying, there is like logical things. I don't know if you remember last year at the Brit Awards, Dave, the rapper, sang his song Black.
Right.
Really good song. Incredible. And he added an extra verse for his live performance that was really... There were a lot of complaints about it. Because let me read it to you, and let's be clear here. I am not going to do this justice.
You're gonna start rapping for me.
I will not, but
I would love that.
So this is the last verse. It's not in the actual single, but then he included it at the Brits. It is racist, whether or not it feels racist. The truth is, our Prime Minister is a real racist. They say you should be grateful we're the least racist. I say the least racist is still racist. And if somebody hasn't said it, equality is right. Equality is a right. It doesn't deserve credit. Now, if you don't want it, then you're never going to get it. If you don't want to get it, you're never going to get it. How the news treats Kate versus how they treated Meghan. Now, look, you can dive into so many layers there. But I really like that line. They say you should be grateful we're the least racist. I say the least racist is still racist. And it's that same thing that my sister's saying, you know, this wall has the least shit on it, but it's still got the shit on it. Like... It's not enough to be less racist.
I think, like...
Or less sexist.
Of course. I mean, of course. With the racism side, I think... I mean, you'd probably agree with me, but it's the idea that if you've said or done something that is racist, you are inherently a bad person.
Yes.
And it's like... I know that I have, like, said and done things that were racist in the past because of ignorance, because of not being educated. And I don't think that...
As has everyone. I don't believe there's a single person in the world who hasn't said something problematic.
And I think, I just think it means... It doesn't mean it means that I'm a bad person if I never... Like, if I ignored the signs and just, like, let it go on, but I think that the fact that, like, I'm trying to educate myself, it means that I have done racist things, I have said racist things, but I'm not a bad person because I'm trying to do better. That's still not, like, you know, at times it can still not be enough, but I'm hopefully getting to a better place with it.
Of course. And let me be clear on this. What I'm not saying is that, you know, I'm not saying, Kat, you are a terrible person because you're not 100% anti-racist, like, you know, like, because you have potentially said things in the past that are problematic. I'm not going to denounce you forever and say you're the trash human being, because we'd have to condemn everyone for that. That's ridiculous. The difference is it's mistakes versus the kind of continued ingrained behavior, right? So everyone will say things at times which are problematic. The difference is how he reacts to it, because you have effectively two choices. You can double down and make it seem like you're the innocent person, and that everything is against you, and that it's just wokeness, and it's, why can't you say that anymore? Or you can be constructive about it and actually try and understand what it is, and do your part to change that. Now, in my mind, you and a lot of people that I know are in that group, in the group that are, when they are called out or anything like that, that you won't, your immediate response is not just going to be, well, it's not my fault, I'm, you're the problem, not me. You would try to understand what it was that was hurtful or problematic and do something about it. That's good. That is good. Don't get me wrong. Progress is good. And, from my side, I've never heard you say anything that I consider to be racist, which is not saying that you haven't done it. I'm just saying I've never heard that.
I think for me, I had the attitude that because I had like black friends or friends
Your
of
best
color,
friend
like
was black.
Exactly, I couldn't be racist, and that's why that probably caused me to be sort of like to say things or stuff. Maybe I don't, I do have like examples in my head. Obviously, I'm not gonna share them because that's
fine.
Not constructive. But I've definitely done things and then thought I did that because I thought I couldn't be offensive, because I don't feel that way or what have you. And these are not like major things. I'm not going around saying the N-word and stuff like that.
Oh my goodness, no way.
Yeah.
Like I say, you're not someone who has these behaviours ingrained within you. I don't think you are at all. I would never say that. I think, you're someone who, I think you're genuinely very sensitive and very aware and try to be the least offensive that you can be. And that is good. Like, it's a tricky one to toe the line on that, because I respect that in you. I think that's right. But also, like, and don't let me take away from what I've said about you here. Like,
of course,
that is how people should be. That is the bare, like, that not
it's
the
bare
bare
minimum.
But like,
yeah,
you should be respectful. You should be trying to understand why something you've said has upset someone else. You should always, always, always try and understand it so that you can try and avoid causing pain. We shouldn't be here to cause pain. We shouldn't be doing that. So I respect the fact that that's happened, that Kat is not one of these people who is just digging themselves into a hole and going, well, they need to stop being offended. You're actually doing, what I consider to be the right thing. And I think the point is that there are not enough people doing that. There are not enough people willing to continually grow and continually learn and adapt and change. There are people who kind of do a bit and then go, well, I've done it now. I understand that I can't go around and point at black people and call them coloured anymore. So that's fine. Yeah. We've made an advance in life. No. You did something and then you stopped because you thought that you'd crossed the line. Great job. You started walking. Continue. Don't just stop after a step and say, yeah, that's great, I've done a marathon or something.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I feel like if you feel content, with that you're not racist or you're not sexist and you've educated yourself, then you probably haven't.
Yeah.
I think that's I'm not saying to people of colour that they need to go educate themselves. I'm saying this to white people, if you feel content and you've read a few articles, and I'm talking to myself as well, it's not enough. And it shouldn't be a depressing thing. You shouldn't, because I did get to a point where I thought, okay, I'm trying to educate myself, but no matter what I do, it's not going to be enough. And then you sort of go in on yourself. You just think, oh, I should have started doing this when I was younger and all of that. It's like, just do as much as you can. And that is, you know, it's going to help, even if it just affects the world in a tiny way.
Yeah.
It's, if everyone does it, then...
it is a lifelong thing. And it's not an issue that's just for one group of people. That's... Again, this is going a bit wide in the music industry, but there's definitely been an uptake, and I was reading about a rise in racism from black people towards Asian people.
Yeah, that's...
Now, that a lot of the time is not really focused on, but that's clearly not okay either. All types of racism are wrong, okay? All types across the board. And so... But again, it's all types of. There's not just one type. We can't just focus on and say, hey, well, this is good. White and black people can coexist, and so the world is solved. Because that's not the end point. There's too much going on. And it's actually another thing that I had written down. Honestly, I had so much written down. Another thing that my sister said. And she's right. She's absolutely right. Going back to the music industry. So, K-pop. And kind of K-pop and J-pop, so from Japan and that kind of thing. It's obviously grown a lot in music, okay? I think, especially in our kind of awareness of it, in a Western world, we've become more aware of K-pop, and it's growing in popularity.
Yeah.
But my sister raised the point, and I agree. I think there is a lot of snobbery, because it doesn't conform to what we want or what we believe to be right. So the only BTS song, BTS being a K-pop band, that I've heard on TV or mainstream media is a song called Dynamite. Dynamite is the only song they've ever done which they sung completely in English.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
And it's hard to question. You look into it and you're like, now, is that because they've conformed and they've sung in English and therefore we accept it? What is that all about? That's very strange. And I was just reading the article just before I called you. So Coldplay, BTS did a cover of Fix You.
Oh, okay, it was relevant.
It was absolutely relevant. No.
I thought that just slipped out.
No. Coldplay. No. BTS did a cover of Coldplay and released Fix You. And I quite like it. I quite like it. It was quite good. And a German radio DJ spoke about it. And so this is from The Enemy, and it's I'm just gonna give you this quote from the article. Whilst talking about the track, he compared the group to the coronavirus, saying he hoped a vaccine will be available soon for the band. He continued to insist that he had nothing against South Korea and was not xenophobic because he has a car from South Korea.
This is like trolling, right? This is him trolling. Not that's not. I refuse to accept that someone being genuine.
He says that it was he was exaggerating. He was being ironic and things. And he's a million miles away from it. But
right.
His reaction to it is very interesting, and it's.
So it was videoed. It wasn't just
This was on the radio.
And white oh yeah.
He said
sorry,
this on the radio. This wasn't like our thing. He said it was on air. He was making these comments, and I
was hoping it was just an interviewer writing down what he said and it not translating.
No.
There's no need to defend him.
No. There's a video here as well. It's here. It's not hidden. It's not hidden away. And initially they said it had not been the DJ's intention to hurt the feelings of BTS fans. It had not been his intention to hurt the feelings of BTS fans.
Gaslighting.
That's completely ignoring the issue. Okay, and it's an issue that I think, to go wider than BTS, it's very strange how K-pop is incredibly popular. And I guess the kind of stereotypical demographic that we expect is teenage girls. And I think in that sense, it's just kind of brushed off by the elites of the music industry, if you want to put it that way, because it's just one of those. It's like a passing fad that teenage girls are into it. You know, like it's just one of those things that will pass. Let's not worry about that. Let's focus on our boy bands over here, and it to springboard from that back into the film music kind of thing. We spoke about it a bit before, and I see it came up in the essay as well, about the issue of the music which is nominated for these film awards is it's the commonality that runs through it is that it conforms to Western ideals of what film music should be. And there was a quote in there from Rachel Portman. Directors tend to opt for composers who have done something really similar sounding before, which immediately makes it very difficult to break in. So if you don't conform to your Hans Zimmers and people like, if you don't make a soundtrack which is very reminiscent of that and that kind of thing, then you will struggle. Whereas if you can make something which is in that tradition of you know, the Hollywood film music tradition, then you'll do well. But it's very, therefore, exclusive and restrictive to people who come in with a fresh idea or something.
Yeah, of course. I think I put in the essay as well. I was just sort of scrolling about a Japanese composer, Sakamoto. Is a Japanese composer, but he wrote in like orchestral Hollywood style, and it just sort of that's great, you know, like that he's won this award and everything, but it is almost like if he wrote using a Japanese style, would he have won that award? And I understand that it's Hollywood films, but it is also like Hollywood films are the biggest, one of the biggest
the biggest films in the world are Hollywood films.
Exactly. Yeah. So they should be inclusive, and we should have different cultures in there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was just God, my brain went like a million miles a minute there. I've completely lost my train of thought now.
I hate that. Yeah.
I had so much like there on my mind. So a big issue with the Marvel films or like superhero movies generally. I don't know, you will probably know about this. I learned about it from a really interesting video. About how a lot of superhero films, you have the big like fight sequences, and they're choreographed to kind of fit with the music, right? Yeah. Like you watch it, and it's like, oh yes, and it matches up, it marries up.
Yeah.
Often the music for these films is written after the film has been filmed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to choreograph the fight sequences, they use music from a previous superhero film or previous action film. The problem comes then when you write the music for the film. Okay, so you're given the film and you're given, hey, here's the sequence. Can you write me something for this? And in that moment, it's very hard to write something which is not imitating or seriously influenced by the original piece of music used to choreograph the scene.
Yeah.
Because you're making it fit, right?
So you're going to write in the same style.
You made the sequence fit the original piece of music, and now the new piece of music needs to fit the sequence, which fit the, you know, so you have to repeat yourself. And it, you know, it's like what I was saying, my sister was saying, and I agree with her. I can't tell you what the Avengers theme is. I've watched so many of the Avengers films, especially over the last few years. No. I would hear it and I'd go, oh yeah, that's the one. But it's so
generic.
Yes, exactly. It is. And it kind of just it links back. It all comes together. It's that thing of these films are based on having music which sounds the same or similar to something that's come before, And to do that, you go to a composer who has written something that sounds like that before, and you say, hey, you know that thing you wrote for whatever, can you do that again for this one? Can you just write something similar? Just give me something similar like that. Okay, cool, fine. They do that. They produce it. It happens. Another film comes along. Hey, welcome back in. Do it again, but add something in there. Keep writing the same thing again, again. Which makes it very hard. Then if you come in as as Katrina Preston, you're like, hey, I've got this idea. It's really cool. And thing. It's like, yeah, it doesn't really fit with what came before, though, does it? Yeah, it doesn't fit with our ideals. It doesn't fit with the tradition. Therefore, it's going to be difficult for you to succeed, and therefore we're going to go back to the white guy who wrote the last 10 things, because it's just what we expect. And so music loses that kind of real individual element and new flavors which are key to music developing. How music has always developed is someone just trying something and going, hey, what do you think of this? And it explodes.
It needs to be people who are working in A&R, who are working in management, who are, the people who are suggesting composers, not as well as the composers, obviously, but it needs to be the supporting force that are looking at world music, that are looking at racism and sexism, that are addressing these problems as well. Like, it's not just about creating the music, it's about how that music is distributed, how that music is supported.
Yes.
And I think, as someone who wants to work in A&R, like, I feel like I could, if I educate myself properly and continue to do so, that could make a difference, even on a small scale. It might mean that I look in different places to where I am told to look, because that is what's the done thing, and step outside the box. I did want to go back. It was you'd said it a few points ago, but I wrote it down and forgot to. No, don't be sorry. It's just, everything you've said's been.
I am blabbering a lot as well. I have to apologise for that.
No, but everything you're saying it's like interesting and has a point to it, so it's not it's not blabbering. You're not saying anything useless. When you're talking about colorism and skin lightening cream, it made me think of the whole fake tan situation and how it's sort of the opposite to that. And fake tan is accepted as a normal product, and does that mean that skin lightening cream, obviously when you say skin lightening cream, my heart drops. I think, oh my god, that's awful. But then I don't have the same reaction to fake tan. I don't use fake tan, and I don't totally understand it. I don't get why people go, oh, I'm horrible and pasty, I need to use fake tan. I don't know. People say it looks healthier if you use it and stuff like that. I just wanted to know your thoughts.
I think it comes from the exotic, I think, would be my thinking. And I haven't researched it, so this is purely from my kind of inferences. I think there's something exotic about the fact that people from Britain and, further northern hemisphere are generally they have lighter skin.
Yeah.
On the basis of it being a colder country, you get less sunlight. Your skin is naturally somewhat lighter. Even in the winter, my skin gets lighter, noticeably so. It's just a side effect of not having as much sun. That's the way it is. And I think, in that sense, it's seen as being the exotic, the kind of exciting, the strange, the unusual, for people from these kind of areas to think, oh, I'd love a skin that's a bit darker, like a little bit more caramel, a little bit more tanned. Yeah. Let's go for that like Mediterranean vibe of that kind of thing. And I think if you look back at things, there's the what's the play I'm thinking of, Othello with Shakespeare. It's set in Italy, but the kind of perfect dream, the way a woman should be, pale skin, very pale skin, very blonde hair.
Right.
And, in a lot of areas of the world, like India and parts of Africa, you obviously have to consider the fact that that's dealing with the hangover of empire. And, in South Africa especially, apartheid. of it being ingrained that in order to have certain rights, you effectively need to be white or paler skinned. So I think there's something there about the exotic, the outside, about it's like it's exciting because it's not the normal, but also you don't want to go too far. Like there's no it just, people want to be a little bit more tanned in the UK, even though they want a bit more of a tan to them. And then people in my mum was telling me when she was younger, people in Kenya's obviously on the equator, so you can get some very dark skinned people. Lighten us, we need to lighten it. It's very odd. It's like it's not what you are, it's this ideal. So I think it kind of comes from that, I would say.
And do you think with the skin lightening cream it should be as accepted as fake tan?
I think the problem is some of it can be quite damaging to your skin.
And that's the thing.
It can be really damaging to your skin. And I don't think that you need to chase the, okay, it's a very different thing. There are people out there who they just want their skin to be lighter, I guess. And if that's what you want in life, then that's the choice you make. But I don't think you should chase it for an ideal. I always think the fake tan thing is odd, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I don't understand it because obviously growing up in the UK, I've known plenty of my female friends talk about being a bit more tanned. They want to get a bit more tan. They want to get their skin a bit darker, a bit too white, a bit too pasty. I'm like, it's just pasty, your skin. It's just how you are. It's just the way you are, and it doesn't make a difference, like.
And it's not a creative thing. It's not like, and this is my opinion, like it's not like makeup where you can experiment and be artistic with it. It's just changing tone.
Yes.
I would, if you are a listener who uses fake tan, I would be interested to know, like, why is it?
Yeah, please don't think I'm attacking you for it, because it's your choice to do it, and I fully respect that, and I can understand it.
And there is, if people are using it like reasonably, where you're just like doing the equivalent to what you would have if you'd sat in the sun for an hour, instead of like actually changing race. Obviously there's a lot. That's not very problematic. It's just more wanting, like.
I think it's wrong that you should feel like you have to do that to succeed.
That's what I want to understand. Is it was just something that caught my attention, and I just thought it's sort of it was just the opposite to fake tan, and just sort of.
I'd love to come back to it in the future and look a bit more into it, because I think it's a really
once done a bit of research on interesting stuff thing on it.
But
there
was something I was thinking about as well. When you were saying about A&R and about needing to work harder to try and find people from kind of who are outside the Western pop music kind of bubble. And I was thinking about how lots of the TV shows that we watch and the movies we watch, the songs that are used in them are songs which are brought to them by and I forget the word for it, but from as I understand it, please correct me if I'm wrong, the industry themselves go, hey, look, here's this song, it would be really good, you could use it in a movie, hey, use it in a movie. And like even songs played on the radio, I am fairly sure that like BBC Radio 1, their like A-list, B-list is selected with the industry there going, hey, what songs do we need to promote for you? So
it's very thought out, and there's statistics. Like one of the jobs people probably don't even know about half the jobs that exist within the music industry. One of the jobs I'm interested in is A&R research, which literally means trolling through data and statistically finding. There is a bad side to it, because if you're choosing people based on statistics, that that's a bit problematic, because does that mean they are musically talented, XYZ? You are literally being a data analyst, but it's an interesting role, and I don't think many people know that it exists.
No, I don't think many people realise a lot of these things behind the scenes.
Yeah, and it is like there's a lot of mechanics that goes behind getting somebody to number one in the charts.
Yeah, I think if it's to be maybe cynical, I think if the industry wants someone to be number one, they'll be number one.
It'll happen, yeah.
Good,
bad. Well, they have industry plants as well, where they have people who...
Yeah, you get radio shows on site, and radio it's not dead by any means. People still listen to the radio, and it's like, where did you hear that song? Heard it on the radio, heard it in a shop, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it grows and it gets in your mind. And especially on TV shows are well known for taking songs and making them huge often.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh my God, did you watch that episode of, whatever? Did you hear that song in there? And so there's an element, I feel, of the music industry and of these people who propose the songs to be, to try and make sure that they offer a diverse choice that they do.
And when you use a song that's got a lot of context behind it, like, a song like Fix You, for example, you could probably name 10 films that it's been used in a dramatic scene. Whereas if you choose something that is, relatively unknown or a lot smaller scale, people are going to then associate that song with that scene, and it's going to be a lot more unique and interesting.
Yeah.
Because you lose that generic feel, and that just... Because it cheapens it when you just use, like, all of the common songs. It's like someone hasn't put a lot of thought into it. They've just gone, yeah, that suits the mood.
I like How to Save a Life. I like that song.
Oh yeah, we love
I don't want to hear
it
anymore on TV.
No,
I don't
it's like we both got sick of Paradise.
Yeah, I don't want to hear
it. When it's used in all the adverts.
Even
they've done it with Bad Guy. I'm pretty sure Billie Eilish song Bad Guy is used on one of the phone.
It's no, not O2.
Telecom? No.
One of them. It definitely is.
Let me
BT. BT user.
It is BT, and they've just fucking every time I'm like, oh
yeah, and it's
stop,
really
you're
frustrating
ruining a good
because
song.
It's a good song. It's a great song that's killed by people insisting on it. Well,
and you're like if you gave that to an unknown, like a small artist, it would do wonders for them. It might, if you already know that artist, again, it will probably become annoying. But if you gave that opportunity to a smaller artist, you can literally change their lives.
Over the years, you'd be amazed how many songs I found through adverts. To the point where
Shazam.
Advertising is kind of, I'm susceptible to advertising the same way everyone is. But, often the products that's being advertised is like the last thing on my mind. What normally happens is I hear it and I think, that's a bot. So I pull out my phone to Shazam it. Shazam lets me down the first time. And then by the time it actually works, the advert's over. And then I will Google or YouTube
the lyrics.
The lyrics.
Yeah, sometimes you're like frantically.
And it's like, give me some of that. And like, it doesn't do anything. And then you like YouTube the advert and you scroll down furiously hoping that someone has said, hey, does anyone know what the song is? And then they tell you and you think, amazing. I found so many songs through that and so many artists through that. It's weird. I remember IKEA had one a few years back.
Good old IKEA.
Think of the song now. Yeah, it's that kind of thing. So there is power in that. The music industry, it holds a lot of power in terms of what it can promote. Through recommendations to advertising companies and film distributors and producers and TV producers. And so it would be wrong to say that there's not an ability for them to change things a little bit. To see someone like Universal or Warner or, one of the big labels. I probably named like 2 of the 3 major labels, but
to be fair, there's only like 4. Like it's
yeah. Even as I thought, I was like, there aren't that many, and you've named a couple.
They basically have absorbed like lots of the smaller labels as the years have gone on. So originally it was like 10 or something, and then it's gradually ended up as being 4.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Sorry, just imprints. But yeah, absolutely. But like. It's that kind of thing of they're absorbed, but a lot of them still exist within right? Like,
yeah.
it's like
You have like
X
Sony,
label,
EMI, and yeah,
imprint of Universal Records, whatever. And it's like, okay, great.
Polydor.
So that particular sublet is going to try really hard to promote it, but then when they take up to the lads at Universal and put it on desk and say, hey, we'd like to promote this song, that they don't brush it off the table. They go, all right, give it a shot.
I think with TikTok, like, they have these things where they make a popular hashtag and they have recommended and that's literally how much they can change people's,
It's not rare for a music career to be launched kind of through TikTok now. There was that guy who, do you remember the sea shanty guy?
Yeah.
I forget his name.
Yeah, wasn't he on the Brits?
Possibly.
Was he on the Brits or something? Didn't he do something with Jack Whitehall? Am I going mad?
I think he did. But he was a postman before.
Wow.
He was just like a postman up in Scotland, and he did a thing on TikTok, and it went huge, and now he's been signed by a record label and has left his job as a postman. He's doing this stuff, and it's like, hang on a second.
In 2020, 70 people were signed solely through TikTok.
It's weird. It's growing.
Isn't
it's
that
massive.
Crazy.
And it's that thing of like discovery and just being able to just stumble across this thing and be like, wow, this is really good. There's a few people we've talked about in previous episodes, often women, who have kind of started succeeding as a result of TikTok. So yeah, I just thought it was something interesting that the industry obviously has a lot of power to promote things, and I think that would be really useful. Sorry, yeah, no, that was it.
No, sorry, I went to start speaking, I thought you'd finished, and then
I was just tailing off.
And I was
that
like,
thing where the sentence just tails off.
I was just gonna say, I realised when you were saying that I have that playlist that I made, and it's it's specifically TikTok. I haven't added to it in ages, so maybe I'll add some of the people I've found more recently, but it's specifically people who are like unsigned TikTokers but singer-songwriters and stuff. Maybe we could add that to the
that would be good. Yeah, we could share it this
podcast.
Week and and because
and they are mostly females, so
absolutely
that's helpful.
There was something I also wanted to, again, it's one of those moments where it potentially seems a bit heavy and people will be like, why are you bringing this up this late into the podcast? But I was thinking about how many female artists I've heard over the last couple of years, especially with the Me Too movement, who you hear the same kind of stories, So, for example, there was Kesha with Dr. Luke, and there's a quote where she said she was sexually, physically, verbally, and emotionally abused. Lady Gaga, who said she was sexually assaulted by a music producer. There's Taylor Swift, who was groped by a DJ. There's Lily Allen, who was sexually assaulted. And even when you go outside of the sexual assault issues, it's the power dynamics that exist. So Hayley Williams from Paramore, she said about how even though she's been lucky not to have kind of issues of sexual assault or sexual abuse, she has faced issues when it comes to power dynamics and kind of being a female in music, facing these kind of issues from like managers and things and record label executives who are often men. Taylor Swift is a really good example as well.
Oh, brilliant.
With the issue of Scooter Braun and that kind of the power that he had over her and continues to have over her. And is quite happy to sit with that unequal power dynamic. Dua Lipa as well was explaining how she felt that for a male artist it's just assumed that men write their own songs, whereas for females it's assumed that it was given to
man is writing the song.
It was like, oh, hey, here you go, we got this thing. Even London Grammar, Hannah Reid, the front woman, there's an article here, and it's like, men I didn't know would watch a performance and then come up to me afterwards and say I didn't like what I was wearing. They didn't like what I was wearing. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't imagine that happening to Chris Martin.
Oh, sorry, you're wearing some jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah,
Like,
Chris Martin is out there wearing some strange ass outfits sometimes, but no one goes after him in the same way that, you know, so people look at Hannah Reid or whatever and go, oh my, why did you wear that jacket? That shade of red looks ugly on you. Like,
yeah,
it's so weird. And it's like the men that I didn't know. It's concerning how often you can read the same story with a different name. And that is, it's concerning doesn't do it justice. It's distressing and horrible and upsetting and heartbreaking that I've been able to, like, I wrote down a little list here of the artists and just like their quotes and things. It's vile, and it happens at every level. From at the very beginning of people's careers, like, there's the idea that they have to, for women especially, like, like, they have to have sex with these executives or be exploited by them in order to launch their careers, or anything like that. And it's like, that happened and is happening. It's not stopped. It's not old news. It's ongoing.
There's also a lot of grooming as well. It's not just adults. Yeah. It's young teenagers who are told you can make it, and then are left either being pressured into sexual situations or, being sort of, it doesn't even need to be sexual. It's just this power dynamic
of course.
I was going to say, I have watched, I think, 2 or 3 documentaries on sexual assault within the music industry that were really good. There was one on BBC and one I found on YouTube, and I'll send them to you. A lot of the cases were anonymous, but do you remember
the names of the documentaries?
Unfortunately not.
That's okay.
So I was trying to go through my like search history. I'll find it, because I don't want to just sit here typing and trying to get it up. So I'll find them. But there was one girl who was chased to her car, and after she said no to sleeping with this guy, there was this one guy exposed himself.
For fuck's sake!
2 black female producers, and I was like, brilliant. Oh yes, great to hear about these women succeeding, and they were saying about this guy just getting his dick out in the middle of
What is that? Why would you even...
I don't even know if there was any lead up to it. He just exposed himself to them. They're just like, what?
Jesus Christ. I don't know what these people expect to achieve beyond the fact that, as we've said, it's the power dynamic there, I
think, and I think that case made me so angry, because I thought, you've literally got these women have got through so much to be in the position they are.
Yeah.
And you could have potentially put them off pursuing their dreams, because then be scared to be around men in a closed environment. Because that's the thing, when you're a producer, you are working with like random people in a close proximity, and if you don't feel safe due to your gender, or it's not a nice thing to go through.
Vile. Something that to put a positive kind of thing in there.
Sorry, I just went down a negative.
I mean, look, I don't want to be unnecessary. Like, there's a lot of shit going on, and I would rather be honest about it rather than just be like, it's all gonna be fine. Like,
of course,
there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But something that I really like, and I've noticed it in our playlist that we've it sounds so much like we're doing great. No,
we've got
like our playlist. I really like that there's been a lot of female artists that we found for it who are at the same kind of point of just starting to make it in their career, and through different means. So the TikToks and things like that, like they're doing well, and they're confident in themselves, and they're confident in their ability to succeed, and that's good, and it works as a really good role model kind of thing. The more strong women that are out there, and the more strong people of color that are out there, it's like a really positive thing to see that role model. So I think someone like Teresa Jarvis from Yonica,
she did.
She's an incredible role model. I think she's an incredible role model for young girls, for women, for even people with mental health issues.
She's just done a new article. I don't know if you saw about anxiety and panic attacks and performing.
That's another one to be shared.
Yeah.
Great role model. Absolutely brilliant. Stormzy.
I love her so much.
Stormzy is someone who I think is an incredible role model. I think
he's such a nice guy. Like, he just seems like
a brilliant guy.
The nicest guy.
The things he does, like, he's not just doing well, but he's trying to help other people. He's trying to do things to stand out as a role model, to help other people get to that position. I think there's a new artist I hadn't really been aware of before, but again, my sister's just incredible. Like, shout out to my sister. She just helps switch me on so much stuff. I don't know if you've heard of Rina Sawayama. There was a big thing about her because she has lived in the UK since she was 5. She's 30 now, so she lived in the UK for 25 years, originally from Japan. But she was actually excluded from the Brit Awards and another British award because she didn't have British citizenship. So she's lived here for 25 years and she has a visa of, it's called indefinite leave to remain. So she has the right to stay here permanently and work here and everything. But she wasn't considered eligible because she didn't have citizenship, so she wasn't British in that sense, even though she's been here for the vast majority of her life, studied at Cambridge, doing things at Oxford, like, speaks really good English. It's like fucking, I mean, it was so big that it actually forced the BPI, the British Phonographic Association, to I've forgotten, Institute maybe, force them to look at it and review their things, and they've now changed the rules for their awards to include people who have the right to stay and live and work in the UK. And she kind of highlighted this issue and has again acted as a role model to show other people that it's possible to do it, it's possible to succeed, it's possible to change things. Of course. Yeah. And I think there are so many of these positive figures in music at the moment who are changing the conversation and they're doing really good things, you know? And I think that's something that's really beautiful to see. And I love it. And I hope it doesn't stop. I hope this is the beginning of more and more, like, a virtuous kind of cycle of being able to get these people to feel that they can do it, to give them the means to get them into the industry. And from there, you know, to hopefully begin to change the issue of, going back to your essay, of composers being the same old white men for every film, you know, to give these people the platform to show that they can do it, to show that they can succeed, to be given the opportunity to write for films and to change it. And I'm not naive enough to think that will happen tomorrow or next week or next year. I'm fully aware that it's going to take a long time. But it feels like there is a drive for it to happen. And that people are taking it seriously.
I'm shocked. I just searched. I thought I'd just search her up so I can have her have like a look after the podcast and check her music out and stuff. And I just saw that it said she's lived in the UK for 25 years.
Yeah. She's lived here since 95. She moved here when she was 5. She was born in Japan, but has lived here since she was 5. And like,
that's disgusting. Like, that's so.
And again, you know, okay, so she hasn't formally applied for British citizenship, but you know, British as any of us really, like, you know, like, she doesn't have the passport perhaps, but she does have the right to be here and the right to stay here and the right to work here and the right for everything else. So, you know, and she's done some great music, definitely worth checking out. Yeah, it's just crazy, right? Like,
yeah, it honestly is. It's just like, especially if you think about it in a very sort of don't know, like childlike way. If you think the world is a big plot of land, and because you were born in a certain place, you feel like you have the right to X amount of land around that area, and people who are born in a different sort of land, they then have either no right to come into your land, or they tell you that you can't come into their land. Like, it just, it's so...
I just think it's strange, you know. It's like, in many ways, the music industry reflects the struggles we face in society generally.
Yeah, we have obviously gone through a few more broad topics, but it was gonna happen, let's be real.
Oh god, it was us. It was always gonna happen. And the thing is, I don't think you can talk about it in isolation, because it is a reflection of what's happening outside the industry as well. It all, you know, like the focus on mental health, focus on an increase in figures like Stormzy and Rina Sarayama and K-pop bands and everything else. It reflects the kind of changing world in which we live.
Yeah.
But also, it's a problem, you know, and
it's just about, you know, the awareness of situations. If you think, okay, I'm on a tour, and like, so, like, say I'm a white bloke, like, oh, I noticed that there's one female on the city. Oh, maybe I should look out for her a little bit and make sure that, you know, the others aren't making like sexualized jokes or making her feel uncomfortable, or getting undressed in front of her, or
that's a huge thing, actually. That's a huge, yeah. If you're someone who thinks if you're someone who is clearly got enough issues to believe that exposing yourself in front of a woman, just generally, is okay, or you know people who do it and you're not calling them out on it, you need to seriously have a lot of introspection, a lot of look at that, because it's just not alright. It's not okay.
So even if you say, oh, well, I do it in front of a guy, so therefore it's okay because I'm treating her equally.
Don't do it in front of a guy.
You got to see that it's... Yeah, don't do it in front of a guy either.
Don't do it in front of anyone. Like,
you've got to think about how it can be threatening. It's a bit like when we were discussing women's safety and stuff.
Yeah.
You've got to think about... You've got to recognise your privilege.
Absolutely.
And then think about somebody who doesn't have that privilege, how they might feel from what you are doing.
And something on the back of that as well is that don't jump to defense. Privilege is seen as this thing where it's the most, one of those things I wrote down. Like, it's seen as something that people have to defend themselves against. You know, like, I don't have white privilege. And it's like, look, it's not like we're saying you've done something wrong. You know, we all have different privileges depending on so many intersectional kind of things. You know, there's privileges I have as a man. There's some privileges that Kat has, being a white person. And a white woman that maybe a black woman would, you know, it's a very, very complex thing. But I think the one overarching thing always is don't get defensive and think that you're an angel, a saint, and that you're doing the right thing and the world has just changed around you and the world will come back to your way of thinking. Yeah. You have to always be open-minded and willing to accept that maybe you're wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe you're wrong. Maybe you're outdated. Maybe what you're saying has always been offensive, but now people are actually feeling confident enough to tell you it's offensive.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. The other day I was on a dog walk and it was raining and it was all a bit horrible, and I went by myself, had the two dogs, and I decided not to listen to music and just sort of, you know, be with my thoughts a bit. And I thought, you know, I had a pretty shitty childhood.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the fact that even though I had some shitty things go on, that I still had a tremendous amount of privilege, and that you can, like, I'm sure I've done it where I thought, like, I had a shit childhood, so, like, you know, I don't have privilege because, you know, because of that, like when I was a kid or what have you. And then I just thought, but even then, there could have been so much more that I would have had to overcome if I was a different race, or if, you know, like, if I had a really like chronic like disability or something like that, I've got to recognize, you know, you can have not turmoil, what's the word I'm thinking of, like you can have hardship,
like trauma and things.
Yeah, and you can still have privilege alongside that. So I don't know, obviously you know, both of us are still learning about things.
And always will be.
And always will be. Yeah, I think maybe just thinking about what privilege you have can be helpful. I just wanted to say quickly, it reminded me, was it her festival? I'm trying to think. I can't remember if I told you about this, how I wanted to create in my lifetime an all-female lineup festival, like a, you know, a music festival where at least one of the members were either female or non-binary, as a way of just trying to boost things.
I do. I remember you telling me. I do. I remember you doing something a little while back where you made the like
the poster.
Yeah, the poster. That was a really great thing to see. I love that.
Well, some wonderful shits, I'm calling them wonderful shits, they have stolen my... No, they probably had their own idea. I mean, it wasn't the most original idea, but they're actually making it happen. I think in Liverpool.
Brilliant.
And part of me was like, ugh, I wanted to be the pioneer, but at the same time, I'm just so happy it's happening.
It's brilliant. And you look down the list. I looked down that post and I was like, yep, know them. And it's like you're like, yes, all of these people deserve to be on a festival lineup. Like, no one has got there just because they're a woman. Like, they're all thoroughly deserving if that was to happen.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not like you're saying we're going to cancel Glastonbury. And cancel all these other festivals. We're not saying that male artists now have to go and sit in the bin for 20 years because they're men and they can't get these opportunities. We're saying create more opportunities. It's a very different thing. It's not taking away, it's creating more. And that's how is that a bad thing, you know?
Yeah, it's just it's absolutely crazy. I mean, sorry, I was just searching up to make sure I got the right name. It's Hear Her Festival.
Okay.
And they actually work with the PRS Foundation. So
there you go.
There we go. Should we? I mean, there's obviously, we could go on and on and on, but I feel like we've said some key points. And
I've really I always find it weird when I say like I've really enjoyed this.
No, I have. I feel like
but I have
empowered.
I have, and I feel like within our ramble and our, you know, my just babbling on about things, I think there are some really interesting, and I'd love to hear what people think about it actually. You know, are you as optimistic as us? Do you think that this is something that we can see in our lifetime? You know, things like that. I'd love to know. But I've really enjoyed it, and it makes me feel empowered is the word, because even though you become more aware of things that are wrong, you also, it feels like there are ways to start remedying that, and that's good.
If you guys, you know, have ideas, or, you know, music you want us to support, anything like that, please contact us. Like, our DMs, you know, we check them regularly.
Absolutely.
And also, like, to our friends, feel free to pull us up if we ever,
God, of course.
If we're ever saying something that, you know, is upsetting you, or you think, hang on a minute, like, because the thing is, we want to be good people. We want to be.
Of course I do, yeah. I don't want to hurt anyone.
No, so if you think, hang on a minute, like, please just let us know. We want to learn.
Do. And if you've got any ideas of things that we can discuss in the future as well, both in our chat shit episodes and our, you know,
Serious
real talk episodes.
Well. Real talk, I like that.
They're our way, because I think it's always interesting to I mean, it's not like we at any given moment I can think of several things I'd love to have a real talk about. But
yeah,
I'd love to hear your things as well, because let's be honest, I am shaped by my own experiences, and there are things that I don't know about, obviously. So yeah, let us know.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening. We
love you.
We do. Thank you for getting us to 50 subscribers and continuing to stand by us despite whatever crazy thing we produce or don't produce, depending on the week. Thank you for standing by us.
Surviving for 15 episodes. We love you.
We do.
Goodbye.